As we all know, the Saiyuki Reload Blast anime is about to air, but many people have asked, do I need to know about the series before watching it? The short answer is probably. Saiyuki Reload Blast is the third and final iteration of the main franchise. The first series, Saiyuki, spanned 9 volumes. The second series, Saiyuki Reload, was 10 volumes. There are also prequels, the 4-volume series Saiyuki Gaiden and the unfinished series Saiyuki Gaiden. It's not known at this time if there will be flashbacks, so this hopefully short video will brief you on what you need to know. First, let's look at some of the reoccurring characters. These are very brief introductions into their personalities, and I highly recommend reading the manga to watch them grow throughout the series. One thing you'll learn very quickly is all the characters have some form of tragic past. Genjo Sanzo, the unofficial leader of the group, carries the weight of his mentor and father figure's death on his shoulders. It's unclear how the man, known as Komiyu, was killed, but it's implied that Sanzo saw the entire thing. Sanzo is a Buddhist monk, but rarely does he act priestly. Ill-tempered, constantly smoking, or firing off his gun, he will not tolerate foolishness from his teammates. He is a prideful man who takes his job seriously and will stop at nothing to find the stolen scroll of his dead mentor. He also falls prey to being near fatally attacked every so often, but he's stubborn and won't die easily. Son Goku is the energetic and somewhat childish member of the group, but he can be very serious, especially when it comes to the safety of others. He is also incredibly strong and fast. While he is the most optimistic, he too has a tragic past, and was sealed away in a cave for 500 years because of it. Sanzo freed him as a young teen, and Goku has been loyally by his side ever since. Goku hides a secret beneath that golden crown. Whenever it's removed, his true form, the unstable and very violent Seten Taisei, a heretic that is said to have powers that rival gods, is released and he's unable to tell friend from foe, often hurting his friends. An undisputed ladies' man, Sha Gojo will flirt with almost any girl he meets, many enticed by his vibrant red hair, which once brought him a lot of grief. Red hair is the mark of a child born in a union between a demon and a human. Gojo lived with his older brother, Doku Gakuji, and his stepmother, who attempted to kill him in a mentally unstable state. Years later, Gojo finds an injured Hawkeye, and the two end up becoming companions. Gojo and Goku tend to get into fights, but Gojo really has a heart of gold, and he will help those in need. Cho Hawkeye was once a human like Sanzo, but his lover was kidnapped, and he killed hundreds of demons in a fit of rage to try to save her, only for her to die anyway. The act of killing so many demons triggered a transformation, turning Hawkeye himself into a yokai. Hawkeye has more control over his demonic powers than Goku does, but he risks losing control the longer he is without his limiters, and the closer he gets to the minus wave, which is a strange effect that causes demons to become bloodthirsty for humans. He is a pleasant and polite man who is always smiling, but he also knows when to take chances and is somewhat the businessman of the group. Hawkeye also has the ability to heal, and he also has a companion named Hakuryu, a small white dragon that has the ability to turn into a jeep. So those are our 4 main protagonists, but let's talk a little bit about some reoccurring characters that appear in the series. Kogaiji is the son of Gyumao, the Demon King, and also the guy Sanzo needs to stop from resurrecting. Kogaiji being forced to intercept Sanzo's group to take his holy scrolls, and if he fails, his mother is doomed to be sealed forever. Kogaiji also has a team which consists of his little sister, Lirin, an apothecary named Yaone, and his right-hand man, Doku Gakuji, also Gojo's brother. A man who is technically on the same side as Kogaiji, but isn't really viewed as an ally, at least not to Kogaiji, is the eccentric Dr. Ni, but there will be more about him a little later. Another character who's seen fairly often, not so much, she's kind of in heaven watching our guys on their journey, is the merciful goddess known as Kanzien Bosatsu. She also happens to know exactly what happened in Goku's past that caused him to be sealed for 500 years. A character who will have an important role in the new anime that has been fairly absent from the main series until now is a young teen named Nataku, who was a war god and Goku's best friend 500 years in the past. With that, let's get on with the story. It should be obvious, but just in case you need a warning, there's going to be some spoilers. Saiyuki was the first series, released in 1997, but Saiyuki Gaiden and Saiyuki Gaiden are actually prequels. You don't need to read them to understand Blast, but a lot of character development and story will probably be omitted. Saiyuki Gaiden began 500 years ago. A young Goku was brought to heaven from Earth and forced under the care of Konzen, Sanzo's past life. Soon the boy meets Kenren and Tempo, who were past lives of Gojo and Hawkeye. While hiding from Konzen one day, Goku meets the war god Nataku, and the two quickly become friends. However, this is where the trouble starts. Goku is a heretic being, and could potentially become a new war god. Gods are not permitted to kill, so they use non-heavenly creatures to handle any needed killing. Nataku's father, Lee Toten, orders the young war god to kill Goku. Unable to carry out the act, Nataku turns his blade on himself and goes into a comatose state. Goku, who had been watching, breaks down, and in emotional rage, his crown shatters, releasing Senten Taisei, who murders dozens of onlookers. After being incapacitated by Kanzien, one of the few people who could stop Senten Taisei's rampage, his father figure Konzen, along with Kenren and Tempo, attempted to escape with the heretic. Konzen, who had become very attached to Goku while caring for him, hoped to save the boy and get him to Earth so he could be freed. Sadly, over the course of the manga, all three men die in horrific ways, with Goku witnessing Konzen's gruesome death and hearing his last words. The series ends with Kanzien locking Goku away in a cave, unfounded for 500 years. Saiyuki Gaiden is about how Komiyu, Sanzo's mentor and father figure, Godai, and Tenkai inherited the sutras, as well as how Komiyu came to inherit 2 of them. Unlike Gaiden, this series is incomplete, and at the time of this recording, on hiatus. It only has 1 completed volume, so not much is known at this time. The series is set a couple decades before the events of Saiyuki. Fast forward to the first series, and we begin our journey. Saiyuki starts off fairly typical. There's exposition about how the minus wave is causing demons to go crazy and attack humans. It's up to Sanzo and co. to stop the revival of the Demon King Gyumao, which is the cause of the calamity. In the beginning, there's a couple of Monster of the Day type arcs as we get to know our main dudes. Things are pretty smooth for Sanzo and the guys until they run into Kogaiji, their first really tough opponent. Sanzo's group runs into Kogaiji several times in the series, but their battles rarely have a definite answer on who is the winner. Leaving the Demon King's son without the ability to attain Sanzo's heavenly scrolls that would be used to revive Gyumao. The group also run into such villains as Rikudo, a monk who used to be Sanzo's old friend, who nearly kills him, and Shin Yuso, a demon who wants revenge on Hawkeye. While these 2 villains are pretty tough, they don't completely defeat the Sanzo group the way a young monk named Kami-sama did. The guys weren't used to losing and were crushed easily with Sanzo losing his heavenly scrolls. The monk, Hawkeye, and Gojo got into a fight, all of them unable to deal with their broken pride, and Goku, the youngest of the group, whipped them back into shape. Saiyuki ends with a bloody battle between the guys and Kami-sama, and Sanzo's scrolls being retrieved. Kami-sama dies as Dr. Nee watched nearby, placing a crown on his head and hinting at his status as a Sanzo priest, as the group goes back on their journey. Obviously, a lot more happened in 9 volumes, but that's a quick recap. The events of Saiyuki were animated in the first half of Gensomaden Saiyuki and Saiyuki Reload, so you can watch a lot of what I've skipped over if you're more of an anime viewer than a manga reader. The events for Saiyuki Reload, however, are much different from the anime, at least the later volumes. Saiyuki Reload begins with the guys helping out a village that ends up plagued by yokai, and ends up having a couple silly chapters, such as Sanzo losing his golden credit card, a very short tournament arc, and a chapter with an unsolved mystery. Saiyuki Reload has a couple of major arcs, such as one where they meet a demon who is attempting not to lose control to the minus wave as he takes care of some yokai children, and Kogaiji being brainwashed by his stepmother. Saiyuki really seems to have a thing for the evil stepmother. Saiyuki Reload also has a mini-series known as Saiyuki Burial, which showcases some events from the past. We find out that Dr. Ni, one of the series' main instigators, is actually a Sanzo priest known as Sanzo Ukoku. He had an interesting relationship with Komiyu, Sanzo's late master. The series looks into several scenarios, such as Sanzo's disturbed personality as he tries to find purpose in his life, Sanzo meeting Goku, and, even after meeting Sen Taisei, deciding to let him stay at the temple, and Hawkeye having to bail Gojo out of trouble and revealing his demon side to do it. The mini-series ends with Ukoku and Komiyu making a bet, showing us a present-day Dr. Ni saying how the bet is still going on. A major arc, and the one I want to dive in the most, is the Even a Worm arc. This is by far one of the best and longest arcs of the series. At about 6 volumes, Even a Worm has a lot of character development and reveals. However, the anime Saiyuki Reload Gunlock does not particularly follow the manga and kind of goes on in its own direction. Many regard it as a weaker point in the anime, especially considering the events of the manga and the fact that they kind of went off character for some of the series. Even a Worm starts off with a bishop named Hazel, reviving a dead child and people around him crying out that his deeds are a miracle. We then see Dr. Ni talking to Kogaiji's stepmother about the Western priest, and thus his involvement begins with his tormenting of the Sanzo group. Sanzo and the guys are in town and have a brief encounter with Hazel, but it's not until later that they give him much notice, after he and his incredibly tall and tanky companion Gat show up to eliminate a horde of yokai. Thus begins an interesting relationship with the guys and the bishop from the west. Sanzo wants almost nothing to do with Hazel, but the younger priest is fascinated with Sanzo and wants to see his abilities. We soon find out that Hazel uses the souls of the dead to revive others. In particular, he only uses the souls of demons he has killed to revive humans. He acts polite, but it's clear he's not overly thrilled that Sanzo, a human, has to complete his mission with 3 guys who are some form of demon. Considering his father figure was killed by a demon, the bishop is not very fond of them and has even said he wishes to eradicate all the yokai. Hazel also meets up with a monk named Ukoku Sanzo. Later in the chapters, Goku and Sanzo discuss out on the street about reviving the dead. Sanzo asks the younger man if he would want to be revived, with Goku replying he would be okay if he were to pass on. Almost immediately afterwards, he is near fatally attacked by an unseen enemy and falls to Sanzo's feet in a bloody heap. Sanzo is too shocked to react. Hawkeye and Gojo end up trying to revive him with no luck, and Sanzo ends up running off in a fit of rage, the attack on Goku triggering his memories of his master's slaughter. He had a feeling he knew who was behind the attack. This left Hawkeye and Gojo in a tough position. They could take off Goku's limiter and hope his true self, Sen Taisei, had some way to survive the attack. But without Sanzo, it would be difficult to get him under control. Hawkeye and Gojo remove the limiter, and thus begins one of the best fights in Saiyuki. Sen Taisei, enraged at being nearly killed, uses the power of the earth to heal, and of course, begins to rampage. Hazel and Gat show up to try and stop him, but nothing they do seems to work. Despite Sanzo's warnings, Not to remove his limiters because the minus wave may affect him, Hawkeye removes his ear cuffs and begins a bloody, gruesome battle between two incredibly deadly creatures. Because Sentai is not quite a demon, the minus wave doesn't have as much of an effect on him, but he is always released when Goku is in a dire state, and is nearly always ready to fight. He and Yokai Hawkeye go up against each other with no clear winner, but Hawkeye cannot heal and Seton can. The man manages to come up with a plan that uses Gat as a lightning rod, as Hawkeye's yokai vines become currents to electrocute Sentai, finally taking him down. Sanzo wants to know who attacked Goku and leaves the others behind, going with Hazel and Gat. He manages to find out from the bishop that he was informed about Sentai, and Sanzo wants to know why he knows of him. Meanwhile, Goku and the guys end up at a yokai village in the desert. They can tell they are not humans, and they don't try to eat them. Goku meets several people, and his view of the humans versus yokai situation changes when he learns some yokai just want to live in peace. Tragedy happens, and many of the villagers die in attack, and Goku determinedly announces he will go to the west to stop the minus wave, not because he's following Sanzo, he wants to put a stop to the calamity. Sanzo, however, finds himself running into the man behind most of his torment, Ukoku Sanzo. The man ridicules the younger priest, and in no time is able to severely injure Sanzo, breaking many bones in his body, but the worst was yet to come. Sanzo is not prepared for the way Ukoku used his heavenly scrolls, and the dark-clothed monk proclaimed he would swallow him up in darkness, make him disappear. Before that happened, though, Sanzo was saved by a well-timed rescue from Goku and the others. Ukoku muses that it would be interesting to experiment on everyone, and reveals that Hazel, the one who wants to eradicate yokai, actually has a demon inside him, the one that killed his father figure. This causes Hazel to lose it, revealing the demon inside him. The demon rampages against Goku, Gojo, and Hawkeye, but the healer of the group manages to bring him to his senses, and Hazel is able to take control again. But while he is struggling, Ukoku unleashes a deadly attack that mortally wounds Gat. As he begins to turn to dust, Gat tells Hazel to live, before he disappears. Hazel turns on Ukoku, who had been thoroughly walloping Goku and the guys, and manages to strike him and distract him. This gives Sanzo just enough time to turn his gun on the eccentric Dark Monk and blinds him with a bullet to the face. Ukoku retreats. Hazel, after being attacked by the Dark Sanzo, is presumed to be dead after falling off a cliff, and the Sanzo group collapses in a worn-out, bloody heap. They now had to deal with a crazed priest who was running wild. The series ends with Hazel waking up in bed with bandages on him, his memory now lost. He has with him Gat's bandana, and for some reason it makes him cry. The guys go on their journey and continue on to the west. And now we're pretty much up to date. Obviously there's a lot more information I could cram into this video, but I didn't really want this to be an hour long. If you're looking for more Saiyuki news, consider following my blog, Seton Taisei on Tumblr. There's also a Discord chat room if you're looking to find other fans to talk to. If you found this video to be helpful, I'd really appreciate a like, or if there's something you'd like to see, please leave a comment below. Again, thank you for watching!